Hey there, everyone. Thank you for setting some time aside to join us today. Soul Flow Radio episode 6. We are excited for it today. We got some special session. Really appreciate your support as we've been building this platform. It's been a whole lot of fun for both of us, and we derive a whole ton of joy from it. So thank you for joining us on this journey. I think it's one that me and my brother BJ would be on regardless. Contribute to this conversation and gain value from it as well. So there's the man himself. VJ, how are you, bro?
I'm doing so good, man. I'm doing so great. I'm really glad that we didn't have any technical glitch this time starting out. But yeah,
Yeah,
really happy to be here. Really excited about this episode, brother. How are you?
likewise. No, I'm doing really good, man. I just finished paying myself first for the day, meaning that I went to the gym, got that done, and made some cacao to help the body to recover and just be in my best possible place. So I'm feeling good, man. I'm really really excited for this, and
Amazing, man.
yeah,
Amazing.
episode 6. We're here already. Can you
Yeah,
believe it?
yeah, man. I can. I can. I felt this flow with you right when I met you, man, and just didn't know what shape and color it would take. And here it is. Here it is. I'm just feeling so blessed. So blessed.
Awesome, man.
Um,
Well, before we kick it off, I see my wife is here. Thank you so much to my beautiful partner, Suki, for always being here on every live,
Hi,
everything that I talk
Sophie.
about. I'm sure you get tired of hearing me talk. I'm sure you can hear me through the floor right now, too. But thank you for your ongoing love and support through all these journeys and adventures that life's taken us on. So, VJ, today, do you want to tell the people kind of the special sort of focus that we have for today?
Mhm. Yes, it is Men's Health Month. At least here in Canada, actually, I was actually reading up a little bit about it. It looks like it's a mainly a Canadian thing, but maybe even in the US. Either way, um, and thank you, by the way, Josh, for suggesting that be sort of the theme for today's episode. It had skipped my mind, and I'm so glad you brought it up. And I really think it's a very important conversation. So to everyone tuning in, we are going to be touching on men's health and what comes up for us. For me personally, brother, it's a very important thing to talk about. Um, and I'll share why as we sort of evolve into this conversation. But I think it's just absolutely paramount that we have conversations like this and yeah, and do this. So that's what we're going to be doing. And like always, I think just so you all know, yes, we know today's theme, but we don't know the respective questions that each of us are going to ask each other, which is sort of like the way we've been doing this and the way that's why it's a soul flow thing.
Yeah, I love that. No, great, great intro there, man. Yeah, it's been something that's definitely top of mind for me, year round. I think
Mhm.
we all have had our challenges, no day is necessarily without its challenge, but I think the more open we are about, sharing all the different tools, shifts in mindset, resources, all that kind of stuff that have supported us, I think that's the only way that we're going to really help one another to win and win faster. Right.
Mhm.
So, without taking up too much time here at the intro, once again, just thank you everyone for joining us. And, we really appreciate it. These are real soulful conversations. So, VJ, I think last time I led off with my question. Did you want to kick off with yours today?
Sure, sure, absolutely. I'd like to take a moment to read some statistics, if that's okay,
Absolutely.
because it'll lead into my question. So a lot of times, I mean, first of all, I want to say how, again, just to reiterate how important it is that us two men are talking about our people and men that I know. Men don't talk about feelings, right? And women talk about feelings, and it's like this stereotype that we just keep feeding again and again. And so I just want to read some statistics for anyone interested. The average North American man dies 4.5 years before a woman. And of course, this is not about comparing with women, but it is, something that it's a barometer to sort of look at numbers. Suicide is a men's crime. I'm just reading my notes. Men make up around 75% of all the suicide deaths. It's three times more than women. 75% of suicides is men. Um, Uh, in 2025, by the way, that's from healthinfobase.canada. We can share the resources. Um, this one is from menshealthfoundation.ca. In 2025 survey, 64% of men reported moderate to high stress. Heart attack, men are twice as likely to have a heart attack and die from it. Um, and about 30% of men are obese, peaking at 34% in the 50-64 age group. There's a whole bunch of other statistics that we can throw down. The important message or intention here is to sort of highlight that there is a little bit of a crisis going on as far as men's health is concerned. By the way, shout out to the fact that you paid yourself this morning, and the way you did that, describe that, is by taking care of your health and taking care of your nourishment. That's a huge tip right there. So I got two questions. I'll start with one, and then we'll see if we have time for the other one. So as I said, 75% of suicides are men. And brother, what do you think? What personal or societal factors do you think keep us men from reaching out? Because I feel that one resorts to taking their own lives when there's no other option. They don't, they're just so overwhelmed with it. So I could be wrong, but I think reaching out and looking for help and not feeling alone could mitigate that danger. And so the question that I have for you is, what do you think, what societal factors do you think keep us guys from reaching out?
If I'm being honest, man, I think it's us. I think that, we have a long history of giving one another as men really bad advice, and I think that that's not only among friends. I think often, and I think we're seeing things turn a little bit, right? I've been around some incredibly mindful humans who are intentionally trying to steer this thing in a different direction. But I think even, as young boys, I think a lot of us, I'll speak for myself, you receive that all those mantras about suck it up and be strong. And, something that I actually saw the other day, we were watching something and they said 6 words. And I was like, wow, these are perhaps like some of the worst 6 words that you could ever say to somebody,
Mm.
right? Which is don't cry, try to be strong. So even in saying that, you're drawing division. You're inexplicitly saying what is strong behavior and what is weak behavior. And I think that that's a big one, among us, where we do that. We feel uncomfortable, and it might not be because we're trying to make fun of somebody, right? It might just be that we ourselves have never really been in these positions to listen and actively listen and truly hear someone else when they speak. And a big part of it too, this is coming up a lot more in a lot of things, is the vocabulary that we are equipped with to actually describe our feelings and to be there to support one another and hold space for another person. I find that, we very much is kind of just like, no, man, keep going. You're strong. You're strong. It's all of these reinforcements of the ways that you're strong and how you're disappointing yourself or other people by showing anything other than what we are deeming as strength. Now, it kind of comes back to men, like I said, I think it's really us who are kind of at the core of it, because we walk around really believing that alpha male behavior is lone wolf behavior, that we need to give one another a chance to actually be there for each other, and then actively be willing to come to that table and be like, hey man, all right, I appreciate you being there to listen to me. I really, in this moment, what I need is being able to actually communicate like, hey VJ, I just really need you to listen right now, man. I don't need you to say anything, or what would you do in this situation? But I find that we don't necessarily give our people a chance to show up for us.
Hmm.
Then we can't really understand how they show up and understand a little bit about, did I get what I needed out of that? Okay, that can't be all on them. I need to communicate maybe a little more effectively what it is I need and what I'm feeling right now. Leaning more into that and more behaviors like where we find ourselves in safe spaces where I can be supported, for example, by you, right? Like coming to the retreat that you held. I felt safe and supported by you. And, we had some other gentlemen who were there as well. And I allowed them to show up and show up how they wanted to show up. And it could. So
Mm-hmm.
I could even see in what I'm putting out there and communicating, am I even giving everyone the best chance to show up and succeed at being there for me?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I think we just need to be around one another and question some of these things. Like what are we really telling one another, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like suck it up and be strong. What the hell does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know, when we police one another this way, we kind of just keep raising these walls as they might be trying to come down. And we think that this is the best way that we can show up for ourselves and our ecosystem, right? Like, oh, I'm just going to put on a brave face and power through. And, you know, my wife and my kids, they can't see what this, say, stressful job and all these other pressures and things like that are doing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But as long as I keep going, I'm doing what they need me to do. I'm fulfilling my responsibility as a man. But
Mm-hmm.
we need to look at the flip side of that and be like, hey, you're not fooling anybody, right? These are the people who know you best. They literally have the most time out of anyone on the planet to study you and observe you. Whether they come to you with that info or not, they're seeing stuff, right? So I think that we need to also check in with the people who we think we're being strong for and ask
Mm-hmm.
them, hey, am I actually being strong for you? Right? I think it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, again, another element ties back into self mastery, looking at ourselves and, hey, are we even being strong for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Beginning with ourselves and understanding, okay, what is it that I need? Can I identify what I need in this moment?
Love it.
In whether it's knowledge or communication, or perhaps we don't feel we have a network that can support us in that way. Maybe that's something to identify, right? Hey there,
Mm-hmm.
CC. You know what I mean? So I think
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the things that have me feeling like we're just staying kind of stuck and maybe digging our heels in way more into this behavior that I don't want these trends and statistics to go up, but if we don't do something drastic, like have more of these vulnerable conversations and show them we are different, I think the number's just going to keep going up, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Your last bit just froze here, but I've just to confirm you were complete. You feel complete in your share, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, brother. You hit on some really beautiful things. I have a lot to say. I do tend to agree with you that it's mostly us, and I think we need to first start with redefining what strong actually means, and I think that's the crux of the problem is that we are as men supposed to be strong. We're the originally the hunters, that go out there and fight the lions and go out and bring food. And so that inherently needs us to be strong. But, our frontal cortex has evolved since the cave people time. And so I believe that there's a need to redefine what strong means. I think I shared this in the retreat with you that when my mom passed, which is up almost a year now, my own family members, when they saw me tear up 12 hours after my mom passed away, they said, "Don't cry, be strong."
Yeah.
And I wanted to go tell them to F themselves because I was raised to believe that thankfully, showing vulnerability is strength. Being so strong that you can shed a tear in front of people and not have to worry about them thinking that you're weak. That's strength to
Mhm.
me. To be
Yeah.
able to be like, here's my heart, here it is, it's broken, and I'm weeping, and I need care. That's strength. Now we amongst our brothers say, no, we got to figure it all out on our own.
Yeah.
No, that's unhealthy. That's absolutely unhealthy. There are, you know, I'll just tell you, I'm being super vulnerable. I didn't think I was going to share this, but I will. I'm somebody that was physically and emotionally abused in a marriage I was involved in. And when I look at my gender channel where feelings are shared, experiences are shared, there's way more women's circles, there's way more women's retreats than there are men's circles, and I'll talk about the circle thing in a bit, because I want to play off this idea with you in a little bit later. But so just the notion of a man talking about because men are abused. So that's another
Mhm.
topic subject that I want to bring up,
Yeah.
is that men are physically and emotionally abused, whether it's by their boss, their spouse, or whatever it is. That it happens. Even as a child, we can be abused, but we are meant to process it. We are told to process it on our own. We're not meant to do that. We're told to process it alone. And so, of course, if we're not sharing something that traumatic with anybody, whether it's a therapist or a brother or a sister or whatever, that's going to build up as toxic energy that's cancerous to our well-being and thriving. And so, of course, one day we're going to say, screw it all, you
Mhm.
know? We're told to carry the burden of responsibility. We're at a time and age, I will also say, we're at a time and age where it's confusing to be a man. Do I hold the door open for a woman that's entering the thing, or do I not? Because
Yeah.
if I do, then I'm being a patriarch. And if I don't, then I'm not being courteous enough. So there is this solo, like, what am I supposed to do here? Thing going on. Every single time I hear the word that we live in a patriarchal society, whether true or not, it shuts me
Mhm.
down. And if I
Mhm.
bring up this point that every time I hear the word patriarchal society shuts me down, then I'm reminded that that's the exact kind of vernacular and dialogue that stunts the feminist movement. So it's like,
Right.
where do I go? You know what? Where I'll go is I'll go to my room and I'll be alone, and one day I'll kill myself. That's kind of the thing that happens. Now, I'm fortunate enough to be raised by parents and a society and a situation where I've been able to develop enough self-love to be like, here's my open wounded self. If you don't love me, good for you. You know, please proceed. But not many men are. So I did want to sort of raise these things because I think we're afraid to sort of talk about them. And coming back to the men's and women's circle, I think, brother, I want to explore this idea with you. And I think I've talked with you about it before. I think I see a lot of women's circles retreats and a very few men's circle retreats. But what I don't see is one retreat that has a women's circle and a men's circle, and then after those shares are fresh, that the men and the women come together and say, in our circle, this is what we discussed and what came
Mhm.
up. Please listen and hold space for it. And in your circle, what came up? Please share with us. So I'd like to actually explore co-creating one day with you an experience where we bring women and men, and they have their individual circles, let's call it for the lack of another term, and then we bring it all together and we talk about it in a vulnerable
Mhm.
way. And one other thing I want to say is men are touch deprived, especially in the West. I grew up I was born and I grew up in Asia, in South Asia, and men hold hands walking down the street. We will
Right.
literally caress someone's arm like this for comfort. But here, no, it's like taboo and it's sexualized, right? So if I see a man holding a man's hand, for whatever reason, the narrative here in the West is that it's sexualized somehow,
Mhm.
that they can't just be brothers, they have to be gay lovers, which is just absurd to me. And whereas women will hold hands, so I think this added layer of not having like physical affection, which is so powerful amongst men and amongst other, without the sexualized energy,
Yeah.
I think also has an added compounded effect that's like really subconscious but super powerful as it builds up. Because it's at the end of the day, I think what happens when we lead to suicide is this feeling and this narrative of I'm alone.
Yeah.
I'm alone and I have nobody and I'd rather just end everything. So that's what I kind of want to share about that.
Wow. Well, first off, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing what you shared about yourself and your experience, man. I it's so I don't know what the right word is, but the more I hear men open up and be vulnerable, right? It's almost like it's scary how similar this story is, right? And it's so scary how intimate the relationship where that act happened is. Like, for example, you referred to a marriage, right? You know, a lot of people that might be, say, a parent-child dynamic. It might be a sibling dynamic, right? It might happen in so many different variations, right? And the more we another with some vocabulary, with some experiences, with some, I'm not so alone because, you know, I have so many people, man, who they, for whatever reason, felt very safe to open up to me and share about a variety of their experiences. Like, wow, I I can't believe that this is the fifth person who is telling me something so similar. And
Wow.
it's scary, right?
Whew.
Because we're all walking around out here afraid to show weakness. And so it's all of these like wounded warriors walking around, right? And it doesn't need to be that way. You know, there's something that I saw, and it was actually an exercise. I believe it was wrong. If anyone watching this knows the proper name for it, please do share it. Let me know. But essentially, it was this opportunity where this gentleman went to a prison, and he was out there in the yard with the offenders. Right, they're all, you know, kind of in their free time and stuff like that. And they had them stand in a circle, right? And what they did is they basically ran through a series of questions. And they're like, if you have experienced this, take one step forward. And then if you have experienced this, take one step forward. And what this allowed was a 360 view of all of these men who, sure, we might have the face tattoos and we might have, you know, shot some people and whatever, but let's be real, at the core, is that who we are? Or is that kind of a mask we're wearing, right? So all of these, you know, thug life and you know, all these other kind of guys, you know, corporate criminals, they're all taking steps in, and they're all like, holy crap,
Mm.
are you kidding me? Right? And it was deep questions, right? Deep questions about their upbringing and their experiences and the pains and all of those kind of things. And they got to see how similar they actually were because everyone's taking steps forward,
Mm.
right? You look to the right, you look to the left, it's like the most unlikely
Wow.
optical character is in the same little row with you, right? And so I think that the cracking it open, you know, whether that is through a form of retreat or you have your own personal sessions with somebody, all that kind of stuff, so important, because I think that's one of the biggest lies that's fed to all of us is that we're alone,
Mm.
right? And it's such a
Oh.
destabilizing message that is reinforced in so many ways, right? And I think that it's a beautiful proposal that you have. I remember when you first proposed it, like how like we both kind of lit up so wide. True. It's so needed because oftentimes, yes, it's not necessarily a couple going to these retreats. It's one member of that partnership. And so when they go home, well, you know, they might have some opportunities and reflections of growth and whatnot, but you know, they can't carry, you know, the other 50% of the partnership. You know what I mean? It's got to be more of a coming together and are we on the same page working towards the same goal type of thing. So I think that's going to be a fantastic offering that we put out at some point because it's so necessary. And you know, just to your point about there being, from as you've seen, you know, both of us hold space and retreats and things like that. Yes, it does look like potentially more women's circles and one's geared towards women gathering and things like that, right? And you know, it's just funny because when I was running all the retreats at our space out in Innisfil, what I found myself doing is like, okay, Josh, how can you put a program together and market it in such a way that it doesn't look like we're going to ever talk about the F word being feelings, right? Let's make it something totally different, man. Let that be the last thing they think that's going to happen here, right? So
Wow.
it's like, all right, you know, guys, we're gonna come. We're gonna play some basketball. Then we're gonna go and we're gonna train with a guy who is a UFC fighter. He's gonna teach us some skills. Then we're gonna come back. We're gonna have a whole ton of good food. We're gonna barbecue. Then we're gonna camp outside, and all of those elements are fantastic. If you understand where I'm going with this, I had to almost propose and lead with everything other than the we're going to also build connection and brotherhood and communicate with one another and show love and release and all of these things happen, right? It was just like, shoot, these guys aren't going to show up for that. So I got to almost like, you know, I got to cloak and dagger this thing a little bit. And it feels difficult because even with that, you know, before they got there, it was very hard to get them in. But when they were there, my goodness, it was everything that they hoped for and more. so many of them were like, you know what, if we knew that retreats and things like that could run this way, I would have come 10 years ago, right?
Mm,
There,
mm,
and there was one, I tell the story often. I had like a 6 hour retreat planned, like the itinerary was planned, right? And at the beginning of our session, we would typically go into the yurt, have cacao, share a little bit, all that, get the energy flowing before we jump into our daily program. And there was one time where they actually, we're sitting in circle with cacao, everyone's opening up like they didn't expect to. And they're like, hey, Josh, like, not, would you be okay if we actually scrapped everything else you had planned for the day and just sat here and talked? And I'm like, what? You
wow.
know? And
Wow.
it's just like, okay, we got each other together. We feel safe at this moment. So now we're communicating what we need. And now we're making it more likely that we're going to actually receive more of what we need, or at least embrace this stuff with curiosity. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
that's what really hit for me as you talked about what, or as you shared, man. I found that that's kind of how it used to be, and I find more and more, there's pockets, but more and more men are embracing these things, not looking necessarily for how can you dress it up and put a nice bow on it, right? It's more
Yeah.
like, all right, you know what? I'm ready. I'm tired of my own BS. Let's go. Like, let's do something. Yeah, let's have some fun. But I'm ready to go now. You know what I mean? How does that land for you?
Uh, Man, the share, what just sticks out is that the whole thing you shared about the prison and just that whole thing, we are this lone, are pretending like we're alone when the man right next to us is going through exactly very, very similar experience. And as far as the cloak and dagger kind of thing that you said about how to word it so that, you know, the last word is the F word, feelings. I want to even throw out there and be like, let's lean in deep on that and let's start with the F word. Let's actually just say we're gonna this is men and we're gonna talk about feelings. Like let and see what actually happens because I think we need to crack it. You know, we
Yeah.
need to break that barrier. Instead of tricking men into it, being like, this is what it is. I'm not gonna try and trick you. It's just what came up for me, and I could be wrong about it. I also want to just share this one thing about mental health. This like association we have, this like connotation we have with mental health is not necessarily positive. If I say physical health, it's a different energy that sparks in me than mental health, right? And it's crazy like how men will sign up to go to the gym, do the calisthenics, get the apps, get the trainer, do the protein shakes, do the whatever, right? Like the CrossFit, the suggestion, in addition to going to your trainer once a week or once every 2 weeks, also go to your therapist once a week. It's like, no, no, I'm okay.
Mm,
Well, if your bicep needs love, so does your mind, man. It's this is what we talk about in yoga, right? It's mind body union. It's like they go hand in hand, and it's I don't know where this happened where going to a therapist regularly is only if you have a problem, but going for a walk or going for a run is just about like being healthy.
mm,
It's like that sort of narrative. I want to I wish I had a magic wand and I could just like everybody should go to and speak to a therapist. Everybody, regardless of your age, gender, whatever. You know, and I know just my dad is suffering through the losing his best friend and partner, and I can't even mention the T word. He's like, he's fine. He's fine. Well, like what's the block? What is the problem with going to somebody who's an expert? The moment he has an issue with his lungs, he goes to the doctor right away.
mm,
So, it's this like weird divide, this line that we've drawn. I don't know the roots of it all. But I just want to just highlight the fact that mental health is physical health, is mental health, is health. It's just health. And so being proactive and being preventative, is is as opposed to reactive, right? As opposed to something's wrong and now I'm going to go, as opposed to just going to make sure that the mind is in a good place. And it comes back to this whole thing about men don't want to share. I don't know the statistics on this, but I see a lot more women going to therapy regularly than men do. I don't know if that's the case with you that you see or not, but it's just these like narratives that more and more and more about it and call in people. And I'm in this so-called spiritual world, and there's supposed to be more. I mean, in the events that I hold, it's about 5% men that show up or less. And
Mm.
that's in the feelings world, you know?
Yeah.
So imagine in the rest of it, you know?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. No, and that's powerful, man. You hit so many great points. If I can just sort of respond to them because I think they're incredibly
Please.
important.
Yeah.
I think that all of us, not just men, I think all of us often hit a person who's coming to us trying to open up space for us to communicate some things, right? Often we give them that, no, I'm fine, I'm okay, right? Now, a while ago I saw an acronym for fine, right? FINE. And what it represented is feelings inside not expressed. And I
Oh,
thought to
yeah.
myself, I'm like, in 99% of cases where I've used that as my response or I've been on the receiving end of that response, I feel like that is true. It's not so much a, yeah, I'm good. And I just happen to use the word fine instead of good, right? It was literally that, right? So I just wanted to put that out there for points of reflection. And you really touched on men, and we often commit to a certain level of fitness or health, right? When it comes to, say, the gym. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see a lot of guys in the gym, right? Like, say, the biggest ones who are grunting and yada yada, right? It's it's not like when I look at them, I'm like, okay, guy, like there's very clearly something within you that's driving you to
Yes.
do this. Like
Yeah.
these grunts, like no one's right? And it takes me back to thinking about when, Suki held space for me in the yurt and said, okay, let's try this thing, right? And it's like, just sit here and literally scream, let it out, right? And I had
Yes.
never done that in my life, right? I was like, what? You'd hear about this happen, and it's just like, okay, these people are crazy for sure. But it's like, okay, you know what? I'm in the safety of my yurt. Let's try. And I kid you not, BJ, this is one of the toughest things I ever did in my life. Like, I sat there and I'm like I'm trying to produce what I believe this sound is supposed to be.
Wow.
And it's like
Wow.
I'm like, right? And she's like, no, like really mean it. Right? And it's like, right? And it's like, okay, it's like that's not getting the belly, right? And then like finally after so many attempts, it's like I tried, like super like, all right, forget anybody watching, right? Like proper. And I kid you not, I couldn't even get like half a second of this scream out before I burst into tears.
Wow.
And it was like in that moment, I didn't know what was happening, right? I was like, I cannot stop crying right now.
Wow.
And it was like this element of release of like all of these things I stored within my body, whether they're expectations or, just anger, frustration, not feeling like it's okay for me to express when I'm pissed off in a certain situation, right? Like, in say the corporate setting, you have to, as per my last email versus, hey, idiot, I sent you 5 emails, get back to me, right?
Mm,
You have to
mm,
always overly manicure everything, right? For optics,
mm,
because you don't want to seem like that unhinged brown guy, right? You don't want
mm,
to seem like you're ungrateful for,
mm,
a space that you now, sit in. You don't want to make them seem like you're ungrateful and that they should regret their decision of letting you sit at this table, right? Like all of these things happen. And it's like, oh, I don't want to let this person down, this person down. And so it was such an interesting experience, and I hope more men give themselves permission to go out into the forest and scream and absolutely collapse on your knees. Because chances are, as much as these other things are wonderful tools, I think that this could actually take you a hell of a lot further than you're giving it credit for. And it's free 99.
Man, that is so powerful, and it so much came up there. You're so right about these grunts and I play tennis regularly. I also go to the gym, and yeah, we're screaming, man. We're like, we miss a simple volley and miss a shot, and we're just like losing our shit, and it's not because we missed the ball. There's deep stuff there, and like we just take it out on the tennis court. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
we have no vocabulary around it. And what came up for me, man, aren't we all just kids looking for, let's call it our mom's affection at the end? We want to go back to that time when the fetal position and put our heads on a nurturing lap and just be held, and I'm getting emotional. Like recently, I'm, getting close to somebody, and like just this whenever witness myself allowing care, allowing someone to nurture me, I kind of break down because I so crave it so much, but I'm scared to admit it out there, and so I think that we all need it. We all need, you know, to put our laps on someone that cares, and it doesn't matter who they are in your life, and figuratively too, maybe physically and but figuratively. Just be like, man, I just want to share, and I don't want you to solve anything for me. I just want to know I'm not alone, that I can share with something other than, you know, the 40-pound dumbbell at the gym. You know what I mean? Like, and I think we really just need to remember that this illusion of us being adults and responsible is dangerous. We are actually, at the end of the day, still children. My father is 80 years old, and he needs TLC. He needs tender loving care. And it's the way we are. We'll always be that way.
Right.
And so just that again, that strength and that vulnerability, and being like, okay, I need you to listen and love me, and I just want us brothers to just find that strength and be like, I'm just gonna share my truth, and I need help. And if you think I'm weak, next, because I promise you there are a whole bunch of brothers, sisters, people, teachers that are available and will want to hold you, so
So true.
don't be afraid of asking for it. Don't consider it a weak thing. Consider it a strong thing. Consider it like an ingredient in the building blocks of making you a stronger human being, so you can show up in service for yourself and everyone else. Yeah.
So
Wow.
true, man. Thank you. I love that share.
Yeah,
I just wanted to share. We've got a lot of love
please.
coming through
Yeah.
in the live comments. We have a fantastic idea in response. That's from Veda in response to your suggestion about the separate circles and then coming together. We have one that says, wow, that's an aha moment. From Suki, I love the idea of separate circles and then coming together. We've had men and women circles together. However, I think it'll be powerful here, especially in family settings. True. I definitely agree with that.
Totally
From Veda,
agree.
this whole episode is next level, guys. Fire. Suki also commented, same BJ, I can't mention the T word with family, especially with the males in my family.
So
And
crazy, right? It's okay. Yeah.
yeah, and Suki also shared, it was a release because you weren't in safe spaces before where you could use your voice. True.
True.
Uh, we have another one that says here, so true. We all need someone to listen and just be. Um,
Yes.
you know, and exactly, VJ. So many of us are wanting that mother nurturing to be held and let it out and feel love. That was from
Yeah.
Suki. And from Veda, we have responsibility means bringing out your inner child to play, especially when you're in the midst of a
Love that.
challenge.
Love that. That's a responsibility. I agree. It's a responsibility we have as beings to society and the rest of everyone that we can be in service for, is bringing out that inner child more. Totally agree.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all for all the love in the comments. Like we've always said, this is very much a very communal conversation, right? You are all welcome. You're all invited. So please keep, doing your thing with the comments and expressing what you feel safe to in this space. That's just a testament to the environment that we're creating. So, VJ, how do you feel in terms of how we, address your first question? Do you feel whole and complete in
Yeah.
how we did that?
I was gonna say, yeah, I do. Thank you so much. I didn't expect that to be 40 minutes, but here we are. But please, brother, I'd love to hear your question. And also, just another thing, isn't it interesting that it's only women that are tuning into this
Uh,
men's health subject thing? So, so invite the men to join these podcasts. Brother, your question.
yeah. So you know what? My first one here, and I definitely want us to make sure that we leave about 5 minutes at the end so that we can both. There's something that I would really like to set the stage for both of us to share on, that I think would be really impactful, especially for
Sure.
the men who might find this content at some point. But my question comes to you. It's about this thing that I used to do quite habitually, and I didn't have a term for it. I didn't really like have the words to say I am doing this because, but it was a behavior that I was doing. And I feel like a lot of us do it. So it's referred to as revenge sleep procrastination. Have you ever heard this term, VJ, before I kind of
No.
dive in? No? Okay. So basically what this is say VJ, you've had a super long day, right? And you're just flying in a million different directions, you're tired, taking care of all the responsibilities, all this kind of stuff, and you just you just want to like be on your couch and watch reruns. It's not like something new is going in, for example. And your partner's there and they're like, "Hey, you're falling asleep. Like, why don't you go upstairs?" Right? Like, why don't we go to bed? And you're like, "No, no, no. Like, I'm not." Right? And you're just like finding reasons to stay up, right? And then you're just delaying sleep. Now, the reason that this happens, right, as I've seen it, because I start to investigate it for myself, is it's because during our waking hours, we don't feel like we're actually doing anything fulfilling or meaningful to us. So what we do is we actually rebel against sleep and starting the next day when we're just going to basically encounter
Whoa.
more of the same because it's like that is the only element of control I feel I have in my life.
Whoa.
So I've been guilty of this so long. Like one of my favorite shows that I talk about very often, and this is a great resource actually for men. If you want to slowly start to embrace your healing journey in a relatively passive way, okay? BoJack Horseman on Netflix, okay?
Okay.
It's 6 seasons where you see someone who apparently has it all go through all the waves of anxiety and depression, imposter syndrome, having everything at their fingertips, but still dealing with this unresolved trauma that's so layered and so relatable. Okay. Now, the way this show is incredibly impactful because it's animals that they use to express very human things. So we can detach just enough so we can actually get the message and not get so hung up on the messenger. Okay. So I want to encourage everyone, if you're trying to get a start, go to that show. That show is a fantastic one.
Can you
I
repeat
watched it
it?
as it was, yeah,
Bojack's
BoJack Horseman. Okay.
Bojack
And that's on
Horseman.
Netflix.
And
Yeah.
we'll mention it in the captions when we post
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's a great jumping off point, right? But essentially, I found myself at the end of the day when I've done, 10 hours of spreadsheets I couldn't care less about. When I'm doing all the adulting where it's just like, okay, yes, I'm grateful and all that, but like this doesn't set my soul on fire. It's like I'm sitting there on the couch, 11:30, I'm tired, right? But it's still like I don't want to go to bed because going to bed means that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and start this whole cycle again faster. And I don't want to do that, no matter how tired that makes me, no matter how whatever, right? And so what I found is that this kept disconnecting me from myself. It prevented me from getting deep sleep and rest and all of that stuff. But it was also communicating certain things to the people around me that ultimately created far more problems for myself, right? So, for
Mm,
example,
mm,
I would often be still sitting down stairs, whether that's playing, PlayStation or watching some shows, whatever, or literally doing nothing, right? After my wife went up to bed. And she's always inviting me to come up to bed with her, but it's just like, no, like I hate my life so much, not because of her, because of all of these different constraints around how allegedly I'm supposed to exist, right? And how my time is supposed to be used. That I was now creating a kind of distance within that relationship because now you don't have the experience of sleeping beside each other, which is something that is actually shown to decrease depression in people and anxiety levels and things like that, sleeping beside your partner, right? And I've seen this play out in the men who are the older ones within my family, right? But even though I saw it, I still fell into the same thing, right? So I just want to ask you, man, is this something you yourself have ever experienced, or Or have you heard of people doing this to themselves and now you kind of have the vocabulary for it? Like how does this land for you?
100%, 100%. Before I get into it, my cousin actually, who's in India, just messaged me saying that her son Siddharth loves that show,
Oh, no.
uh, and she says it's very witty.
Yeah.
Hi, Manavi. Okay, so yeah, I've been guilty of it myself. This delaying the time when I close my eyes and give my body rest and my mind rest, and I've for the first time in my life have from you now somebody's articulated it in a way that, oh, that's what I was doing, and it makes perfect sense. It actually makes perfect sense that that's what I was doing,
Mm.
there's just like this guilt, so it's like I'm gonna like mask it by like being awake longer. That's so fascinating to me. What? So crazy how the mind works, right? And how we like
Right.
justify like unhealthy behavior. um oh, Manavi, thank you so much, so much
Thank
love.
you.
I love her so much. Okay. So yes, so man, I, I don't know. It's like this is gonna sound so superficial, but I'm just gonna admit it. I'm going to sleep super early these days, like super early. Like what is maybe considered uncool, amongst men or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm like ready to crash by 10, 9:30. I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Do you know what, man? Do you know like what is the thing that's giving me permission to succumb to that? I'm tired, let me go to sleep. It's so superficial. I'm going to try and
Mm.
rewire it. It's the fact that now I know that sleeping with high protein content in my diet will help me burn unwanted fat in my body. So I'm like, oh, okay, for that. So like now I'm like, oh yes, accomplishing, man accomplishing something. So now I'm gonna go do that, achieve that thing,
Yeah.
and like, man, this is like clicking for me. I really, really appreciate that. As opposed to just like not worrying about it and just going to sleep because I'm tired, the body's needing it, without some kind of like purpose, you know, attached to it all. And like personally, I'm loving waking up super early at 5:30 and like doing the meditation and the stuff that I've like fortunately finally developed in my life now, But that is so so wild. How is it for you now? Like, have you shifted that?
Yeah, it's been a few different things that I have intentionally done through my actions and whatnot. So, for those who are new to me or perhaps part of my journey, over the last year or so, I really left all the typical, heavily marketed things that you're supposed to do and have and whatever behind. So that was the high-paying corporate job, the great house and big property and the car and blah, blah, blah. All the stuff that even as I had it, it's not like it mattered to me. All I really wanted to do was use all of that to open up the space for community. And that's what was setting me and keeping me going. But in having shifted all of these things and really allowed myself to cut the cords with things that I feel out of alignment with, it's allowed me to actually appreciate and be present more often than ever. I actually
Mm,
get to enjoy what I'm doing. I actively commit to having a say in how my time is spent.
mm,
I actually use the calendar and put the things in there so I make sure the things that are important to me are going to be tackled on this day. So it's not just like, time is slipping away. It's like, no, I'm investing my time in certain things and time will
mm,
pass no matter what. But
mm,
at least I feel like I'm working on some things that matter to me.
mm,
So it has helped me to not need to stay up until whatever time. Now, if I happen to stay up, it's not because of those same reasons,
mm,
right? Sometimes I'm just heavily energized. Sometimes the energy is just flowing, and that's okay too, right?
mm,
That is absolutely fine. But
mm,
most of the time now, I am going to bed with my partner, right? When she's going up. I've intentionally started a habit of working out first thing in the morning so that my body gets to benefit from that energy boost. But
mm,
also, I get that to tire me out a bit and use some of that energy up in the day. So that way, by the time night comes around, my body's more in that I'm ready to rest kind of state, right?
mm.
So, things have definitely shifted. And,
Love that.
we have
Love
some
that.
comments that are coming here from Veda. I see, if only we could view sleep as a privilege. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And then, there's there's the comment around our body heals between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Now, personally, I'm not a scientist, but I just don't buy into certain windows because the bottom line is, VJ, we're in different time zones, and if we both go to bed at our 10 to 2, I mean, like, it's kind of just like, to me, what's more important is shooting for a targeted amount of rest.
Mm,
Because I feel, we could go to bed 10 to 2, but if we're eating like crap, if we are a crappy
mm,
person, if we aren't tackling all those things, you're only going to repair so much. So to me, I kind of step back and I look at it from a broader thing of like, okay, I'm going to shoot for at least 6 hours of sleep because that's going to suit my body. So I encourage everyone. Yes, we can all look into all the stats and we're even reciting stats right now, but really connect with your body,
mm,
right? I think a lot of what's led us in the wrong directions in a lot of different things is the fact that we just kind of take a lot of these other facts and
mm.
not test them out for ourselves and just say this is truth. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I take that.
Yeah.
Anything in response to that, VJ?
I'm just seeing my cousin message. It's uh well, it's 10:30. Okay, it's not too late. She's in India. But yeah, listen, I wonder if the sun has something to do with it, like the that kind of stuff. But yeah, listen, I just want to congratulate and celebrate you in shifting the reasons as to why you do choose to, consciously stay up when you want to stay up, and and now going to bed with Suki. Again, it's that touch, like the two of you being awake and sort of being next to each other. I think you're getting a lot of nurturing, and vice versa, she is as well. I think it's something to really celebrate, that you have shifted in that sense. And yeah, man, this is a really, really big one. The subconscious narratives and stories we tell ourselves to justify unhealthy behavior, you know? I am loving sleep these days, man. I cannot tell you. I sometimes I get a lot of stuff done in a span of an hour.
Yeah.
So like I am like pretty decent at multitasking, getting lots of stuff done, and I'm even taking naps in the afternoon these days. Like I don't know. It's like it just like a good 20-30 minute kind of like snore fest,
Yeah.
and I'm just like ready to go and feeling really good. A healthy tip for men, for everybody. Manavi says if you get a good deep sleep, who is to say seven is better than or nine? I mean, yeah, it's the quality of sleep as well. Absolutely. I mean, if you're constantly waking up like light sleep, it's really, really so much about quality as well, right? It's the quality of rest that we're giving ourselves and the cells in our body. I happen to believe that every cell in our body is conscious and aware of what they're going through. So good healthy tips, man. These are things that we all need to embody, uh, all genders, not just men. But really
Yeah.
good to I'm gonna be so conscious about that, not in a level of feeling guilt, but I'm gonna be so conscious about what's going through my head when I'm like, ah man, I used to just like scroll through YouTube videos and not even know what I'm watching anymore. And
There
it's
you
like 1:30, it's 2 a.m. and I don't even know what I was doing.
go.
But I'm so glad to be out of that. It's just it's a whole other world.
That's fantastic, man. Manavi has a comment there for you about your napping. I'm
Uh,
not sure if you saw that.
That's the Bengali in you. Maybe I'm finally, finally, I'm half Punjabi, half Bengali. So it's like I've been confused my whole life. I guess I'm embracing the Bengali in me now.
That's funny. Oh man.
Uh,
Well, how are we for time? We're approaching
yeah,
conclusion
yeah.
here?
Let's flow. Soul flow.
Okay. Well, one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to give both of us the opportunity to really share with the men and all the viewers who are tuned in here some ways that, or some reasons why they might want to reach out to us for our specific offerings and services that we provide, right? So that if they feel called to it, if they feel like they really like our approach and how we create a safe space and all that kind of stuff, if they wanted to get in touch with us or even know why they would want to get in touch with us, right? I wanted to flip it over to you because I always see, yes, this is one of the best multitaskers I've ever met, because I'm on different platforms and I'm seeing the announcement of all different kinds of events happening all at the same time. So, just so that we can bring awareness to that, so that people know that we do, beyond just our podcast here, we do offer in-person things and whatnot. So I want to flip it over to you to share maybe some of the things that men might want to engage with you for, and reasons why they might want to find themselves in space and circle with you.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that. Yeah, what to say? I hold space for people to find their own innate ability to heal, and do that in several ways. The retreat that you and I met at, that Steph and I host, Heart Medicine Journey, it happens every year in Guatemala around February, March. I have seen uh, beautiful men come to, and women and everybody really come to this space and shed their narratives and shed their egos and just be, one little thing. There's no mirrors at this retreat center by design. We don't after a few days you realize you're not even looking in to see what your hair looks like or whatever, and like you shed this exterior facade thing soon enough, and then just sort of start sharing. I think that's a really good place to sort of leave your physical space, go to a different country. Not everybody can afford to do that. I understand that. And whether it's this retreat or any other thing, fire new neural pathways and do that. In addition, twice a month, I host a kirtan with Madison and Taylor and Terry and other musicians. Once at my home up in the country, in the Greater Toronto area, and once downtown Toronto. This is a wonderful space to come in for a couple of hours, close your eyes, and just sing along or just listen. A lot of beautiful stuff happens when you're in the vibration of mantras and prayers. And I see people shed tears. A couple of men have come here and have shed tears. And it's that going back to that child state of like, I just want you to love me. I want to know that I'm feeling loved. So come to those. I also offer one-on-one coaching and life guidance if you're at all interested in that. I love doing that. I'm somebody that is an engineer by education, so my brain works in a very like science spirituality kind of way, and it's like what I'm trying to say here is that a lot of especially men need logic to cross over that threshold. Whereas I'm generalizing, but I tend to see more women sort of leap, with beliefs a little bit more easier. Men need that. Here are the X, Y,
Yeah.
Z's of why, and so coming from that sort of science-based way, I'm able to, you know, I don't want to toot myself too much, but articulate it in a way that might resonate. So yeah, reach out at my Instagram. Also, I'm offering a wonderful journey to India, which has actually sold out, touch wood. And I feel like I'm going to continue doing that and visiting my motherland, and I kind of infuse yogic Vedic philosophy into the journey is a very, very beautiful way of realizing what we are, which is so much more than the physical body. And so I think the inherent benefits of understanding that we are so much bigger than our physical bodies, so powerful, is I think needed in the world right now. Um, Over to you.
I love that. And just before we do over to me, if people wanted to have you at their events, say as a facilitator or co-facilitator, as a speaker on different things, is that something that's an option to them? And, how would they go about connecting with you on that?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Josh. Absolutely. I've been invited and I do participate in other retreats and other teacher trainings. I teach Vedic philosophy and yoga teacher trainings. Reach out to me. Let's meet at Balasana. You'll see if you tune into this post, just reach out, DM me, message me directly, or yeah, something like that. Reach out. I'm definitely available. Absolutely love doing that. I love doing that. Stepping in. In fact, I think maybe I love it even more because I can kind of just step in, do my thing, and then like have somebody else deal with the administration and marketing and
Yeah,
stuff like
I hear
that.
you, man. I'm all in with you on that. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. That sounds like a whole bunch of different ways that, not just men, everybody can really engage with you. Of course, depending on where they feel they're at, the level of, vulnerability that they feel comfortable expressing at a given time. It sounds like you have things that kind of meet you at different levels, no matter where you feel you are. So I think that's truly special. So thank you for that offering. We'll make sure that, hopefully more of the folks can really engage and send you some messages and even just reach out with curiosity, right? There's no binding contract,
Yeah,
there's,
no, no,
we're
no.
both very open to flow and open conversation. That's what this is all
Yes,
about, right? So
absolutely. Absolutely. Over to you,
yeah.
brother.
Yeah. So, there's a multitude multitude of ways that guys and everyone can really reach out to me. There is self mastery consulting, so that's essentially very customized sessions where you come and, for example, you say, "Hey, I really want to work on this. I'm struggling with this. How can we champion this?" And from a very holistic perspective, I give you a very detailed breakdown of how we can go about this, and we do it in steps. So there's going to be time where we're doing our discovery, right? And then we're going to talk about what goals you have at the moment. We're going to talk about what you've done, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what you're willing to try. And I'm going to create a customized plan for you. So for example, I have someone who has engaged me on, better choices when it comes to food, training in the gym for greater intensity, energy maximization, all these different things, right? So it's kind of taking all of these different things that I've been incredibly passionate about and been part of in some way, shape, or form throughout my life and applying all of that. But again, bringing it back to self mastery, meaning that in order for us to effectively lead and have impact out in the world, we need to make sure that we're effectively leading ourselves. And a lot of that comes back to the foundational principles of how we support ourselves and show up for ourselves, love ourselves, and strengthen ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to the things that we do. So there's that option. Also, a sound practitioner and a Reiki practitioner. So if anyone feels called to that, those offerings they can be combined in session. We have a variety of different options. You can check out the link in my bio for a few of those listings so you can see what a full session might look like. Also do tarot card reading. And tarot card reading is something that I like. I've been drawn to it. I find it really enjoyable. And once again, it allows us to really connect with a message without getting hung up on the messenger. That's what I find often happens. So us, using some cards to really open up a conversation, that's essentially what this is. And I like to use it as an intentional opportunity to help people build their intuition and feel confident with it. Because especially nowadays, we need to trust ourselves more than ever. We need to have that thing within us that we feel I can bet on me. I feel like this is the way for me. And because there's a lot of things competing for that control over us, if you will. So we need to be firm and discerning. And this is what, tarot gives us an opportunity to do. Because oftentimes the things that are going to come through in that reading are going to be things that you said, shoot, Josh, I knew that 5 years ago. I had a feeling, man, but I just didn't do it. So it gives you a chance to see you can trust yourself more than you're probably giving yourself credit for. Another opportunity is different men's retreats. We also do community retreats. And because we're traveling the world, and this is kind of our new lifestyle, if you will, we're willing to, be part of your event wherever you happen to be, right? Of course, it has to be aligned and we can create very custom, unique experiences for you. So if you're ever interested in any of that, you can reach out to us either through the Self Mastery Consultant or Healing in Color, which is the wellness space that Suki and I have co-created. And just these podcasts, right? There's a couple podcasts that I'm part of where we talk about some of these topics that we might not have space to talk about elsewhere. There's a YouTube channel where you can connect with more of my content. So there's just a variety of ways you can do it. What I encourage you to do is just spend some time on the page, see what resonates, and if where we can start, send me a message. Right? I think we do our very best to show you that we lead with vulnerability and openness. There's no gatekeeping to information. We're just here to be in service. So please reach out with those questions. There's nothing stupid or small or anything like that. All right. That's a very safe opportunity to do that. So that's what I wanted to share on that, man.
I love you, brother. I can tell everybody, believe me when I say this, safe is what you will feel with Josh. And you're doing it from a very genuine, authentic heart space. I already know that, and I encourage you to reach out to Josh. Whatever you do, brother, I know it's coming from this beautiful place of wanting to see other people shine and find their own self mastery. So I didn't know actually that you created a curated experience for people that do that. I just learned that now, and I bet you not you, everybody else, that it's really going to be well thought out and well felt for your specific needs. Thanks for this opportunity, by the way, Josh, for bringing this up.
Absolutely, man. And thank you for seeing me and, really just helping this conversation to flow as it has. This is a topic, men's mental health is a topic that's really live for a lot of people for the whole month of June. So, I'll definitely be creating more content geared towards that. And something special that I'm really going to be offering actually is an online men's circle. I'm going to be starting that up
Oh,
because I feel
nice.
like, yeah, time, distance, all that kind of stuff. So this is something that you can look forward to in the next couple of days. You'll probably see something come out about that. And, guys, this is just trying to be in service in another way for us so that we can actually connect and build brotherhood
Yeah.
and see that we aren't so
Yeah.
alone. So,
Yeah.
BJ, that's kind of all I've got for today,
Yeah.
man. Did you want to say any final words before we wrap here?
I do. To the men listening, uh, reach out to a brother and or your father or whatever, and just ask them, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And if they say fine or I'm doing good, just ask them again and again and again. And maybe they'll get annoyed, but I can promise you one thing: they want to share. They really do want to share. They're just living in the illusion. For the women tuning in, if you've got a brother or a husband or a spouse or whatever, a man or your father, same thing, and especially the women, be ready for a no, I'm good. you know, so it's just a thing, maybe a welcome, that invitation that we can kind of do. Um, Also, I want to ask people what they think about our logo, which I was so
Yeah.
excited about releasing yesterday. And so, if you have any thoughts about our logo, yeah, we're just so excited about it all. Earlier, Josh and I were chatting about one day in the future, not too far in the future, maybe we'll have our own dedicated Soul Flow Radio Instagram and social media spaces and YouTube channel. Right now, we're keeping it simple. I love the way that we're doing this. Thank you, Veda. Thank you so much. Thank you, Manavi. I
Thank
love
you.
the way that we're doing this is in natural steps that feel natural. Episode 6 next week is episode 7, and it just gets better, man. Every time I just feel so blessed that we're on this journey.
Likewise. Well, thank you so much, man, and thank you for the love, Veda, for about the logo. Really appreciate it, and we look forward to continuing this conversation. This is great for our soul as well, and we just really appreciate you all taking the time to tune in here. So. You can expect that this recording is actually going to be posted a bit later today, and for the time being, you'll also be able to find it on my YouTube channel, which is the Self Mastery Consultant. So if that's where you consume your loving and being so open with all of your sharing. We really appreciate that. And Vijay, I truly appreciate you, man. This has been. I didn't come in with any expectations even from episode 1, but if I did, I gotta say, man, I think this would have exceeded every expectation I possibly
Oh,
could have had. So thank you, brother.
you too, brother. Love you so
All right,
much, and
love
love
you
you
too.
all tuning
All right,
in.
till
Okay,
next time,
bye
everyone.
bye. Next week. Okay.